Përshëndetje shikues të nderuar, mirë se vini në Radio Televizionin e Kosovës. I ftuar për të zhvilluar një intervistë sot është shefi i misionit të EULEX-it, Bernd Borchardt, me të cilën do të diskutojmë lidhur me mandatin e EULEX-it, sfidat me të cilat përballet ky mision, akuzat për korrupsion, për krime të luftës dhe shumë zhvillime të tjera në Kosovë. Mr. Borchardt, welcome.
Thank you.
I would like to know first, because also opinion would like to know what will be the mandate of EULEX after June 2014, as it is the date when it will expire as a mission.
Yeah, well, a new mandate of EULEX after June 2014 has to be agreed between the EU and the Kosovo government. In the EU, that means not only our Brussels colleagues and structures and chefs, but also all member states. So this is a rather complicated compromise-finding process, and this process has also to reflect a number of important developments in the relationship between Kosovo and the European Union. This has been a great year for Kosovo in developing its relations with the EU. The SAA, that means the Stabilization and Association Agreement negotiations, have started. The negotiations on the visa liberalization have been ongoing, and most importantly, with the brokerage of the EU, a lot of agreements have been found between Belgrade and Pristina, and this mission is very much involved in helping to implement these agreements. So having said that, there needs to be a new approach which also takes into consideration the views of the Kosovo government, and there's a new situation.
But our government has proclaimed that they have documents that will make a transition of EULEX in the 2014. Did you receive that document, or are you aware of that?
Of course, we have received we have here seen as well the letter that the Prime Minister sent to the High Representative, Mrs. Baroness Ashton, and in which he suggested some steps for the development of the mission. This is being under discussion, and this is taken into consideration, and this has also been communicated to the member states, and at the end we will have to find a common solution which takes into consideration the new situation as I described it, and the aspirations of the Kosovo government, of the member states, and then of course our technical input, what is reasonable to do.
We had elections and very long campaign about first and second round that were considered as historically because of participations of Serbs in the north. First round had a few incidents in the north. Most of the people and the media, they have sent the critics to EULEX about non-organizing security on that part during the first round, which was not seen in the second round, because second round went very well. What happened actually in the first round in the north in the polling stations?
Well, during the first round in Mitrovica and in Zvečan, some spoilers appeared, and at the end they were not successful. I mean, the next round went on without any problems, so these enemies of democracy could just produce a small hiccup, but had no success in interrupting the electoral process. What happened in detail? Well, we had a setup, which is a security setup, which was very wide. There were 44 polling stations in the north, so that meant there was less police available. On Kosovo police, on our side, also with K4, so more stretched. Second aspect, we wanted to be less visible, and at political request to be less visible. At the second round, the repetition in Mitrovica, and in the real second round and the third elections, Kosovo police and our police and KFOR were in much higher numbers present at the stations. Nevertheless, even at the first round, they could reach 2 police stations. Then our people, our police was there to reinforce Kosovo police. We could dispel them, and in Speciale we arrived early enough and we could just chase them away when they tried to attack the polling station.
As we are talking about the north, recently you met newly elected leaders of municipality or mayors of municipality. Do you think that these elections can improve their integration into Kosovo government and also of the population in generally in new after the war new situation created in Kosovo?
Yeah, that there are now new elected mayors and town assemblies is one of the many steps which have been taken to create the conditions for a more positive and a better future for the people in the north of Kosovo. There has been agreement on the integration of the form of so-called parallel police. This is ongoing to be implemented. There has been an agreement on customs collection. The money goes into a development fund. This development fund will be used to develop the north. The government has announced that there is going to be a pledging conference. It said that international friends of Kosovo can pledge money for all the projects needed to develop the north, from water supply to building of a better police station maybe. This is one of our interests and of the police. A lot of things have started moving, and I think that that with a better perspective, the integration will come automatically.
What will be the role of EULEX, if there is going to be any, towards integration of this ex-MUP police members of in the north?
Yeah, on that we have a double rule. First of all, our people are doing an orientation course. I mean, your police setup, the structure is different, your criminal procedures code is different, the police legislation is different. So these are these new policemen get an orientation. The first group was just finished yesterday. More to come. And the second is, of course, that we continue our general work with the Kosovo police in the north. I've deployed 23 of our advisors, and they will also support the new and advise the new policemen, the additional policemen, in their new working environment and in their new structure. And I think this is a tremendously positive development. When I arrived here early this year, we had all these, you remember that we had all these explosions in Mitrovica, and then it was still our police together with KP who had to quell that. With more policemen on board in the north, they will be able to do that themselves.
EULEX was not very welcomed in the north in the beginning, so what is the atmosphere now? Are they allowed free to go to the crossing points or borders with Serbia, or what is the situation now?
Yeah, we are traveling there freely, but you remember that the worst that happened to this mission this year, the killing of one of our colleagues, has led us to travel more safely in armored vehicles. We hope that we will catch the culprits, find the culprits, and that we will be able then to travel again in soft-skin vehicles. But this is the only restriction. For the rest, and this is a security-induced restriction, not a political restriction or restriction which comes from a bad mood against us in a general population.
Recently or before, we had a historic agreement between Serbia and Kosovo in Brussels, and we are now gradually implementing those agreements. What is the role of EULEX concretely towards implementing agreement, for example, of IBM and the others that are agreed in Brussels?
And there are many activities. One which will probably be finished sometime in spring next year is the copying of the civil registers of 1999, which will be going back to Kosovo. Another one where we have an enormous lot of manpower involved and women power is our support for the work of Kosovo Border Police and Kosovo Customs at the 6 crossing points with Serbia. We have 135 people there covering that 24 hours, 7 days a week. Also now at the coming holidays, our people and colleagues will be working there. We are verifying continuously the closure of the form of so-called parallel police stations. We verify the stay on cases on the Serbian courts which existed there. We are, as I mentioned already, we are supporting the build-up of the police. We will be involved in a way that has to be agreed between Pristina and Belgrade in the setting up of the judiciary as soon as there is a final agreement reached on that as well.
You have had also several visits in Belgrade. You met Serbian officials there. Is there a chance, for example, to receive original documents from Serbia as from civil registry and cadastre, or first we are going to complete the phase of receiving the copies and afterwards probably there will be another agreement on that?
Yeah, these are certified copies, so it has the same value, and the next step there is the digitalization of these data. This is then the next work step.
So what is the point of view of Serbian delegations when you go there? I mean, how do they wait you there? What do you talk concretely about with them?
Many matters. I mean, for instance, recently work started with the excavation at the alleged mass grave site in Raska, just on the other side of the border boundary line, as the Serbs call it. This had been agreed in Belgrade. I mean, I asked for it that they and the Serbian war crimes prosecutor, who is working very closely and very intensively with our colleagues here at the Special Prosecution and at the Department of Forensic Medicine. He has been very supportive, and the political side supported us then as well. Other areas on which we have had discussions on which we are still discussing is getting more information from other sources on potential graves. There's always a huge number of issues, and of course in Belgrade, Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, President, whom I met once, have expectations from us as well, and we try to meet them as far as our mandate permits.
As you mentioned, this mass grave site in Raška, there are also 2 other sites that are suspected to be mass graves. Is there any date or month when we will expect exhumations there? And I'm interested to know whether Kosovar experts of forensic medicine will be participating at least as observers there while these excavations are being done.
We do not know how many people have been buried there. I know that there is an enormous lot of hope among people who are still missing final knowledge of where their loved ones have been buried. So I understand that they wait with a lot of expectation for more results. But so far we only know that 4 people have been buried there. But we hope, and we are pretty confident, expect to find more, and we want to continue. But as now the soil is deep frozen, my colleagues, the international members of the Department of Forensic Medicine, ensured me that it is best international practice that you wait until the weather conditions get better for this kind of work.
Sorry to interrupt you. Is that place now under security because the population here is afraid if the weather Serbs are going to move the corpse from there or bodies?
And some remains of people have been collected already and stored, and the rest of the site is under permanent guarding.
Yeah, let's go back now to some developments in Kosovo. Recently, there was a perception report of corruption from Transparency International. Kosovo is 5 places worse than it was last year. What is the EULEX task toward fighting corruption, and do you think that there are concrete steps towards fighting corruption? Because a lot of medias and politicians are complaining that EULEX is more dealing with war crimes than with corruption cases.
Well, we have been dealing a lot with corruption cases as well. I give you the exact figures. I mean, on corruption, we have 44 ongoing investigations and 42 verdicts. On war crimes, we have 89 ongoing investigations, so more, but 29 verdicts, so less. And they're not all yet at the appeals level. So it gives you an indication on what we are dealing with and where we are more and what we are involved in all these fields intensively. And we do not, I think a broad misunderstanding is that we pick cases, that we that we concentrate on specific areas. We are dealing with the cases which are assigned to us by terms of our mandate, and then a prosecutor concentrates on a case where he has leads, where he has enough evidence to bring it to file an indictment. And we do not follow we cannot follow every case. Just alone from UNMIK we got more than 1,200 unresolved war crimes cases, but we follow those which are promising, where we think we can reach justice, we can reach a verdict, be it acquittal, be it a condemnation of a culprit.
I ask you this because there are also a lot of critics that are saying that because of the corruptions we are yet not recognized by all, for example, EU member states, although they have some internal problems that they like to make parallels with Kosovo. But do you think that if we are more successful towards fighting corruption, there, we will have also recognitions of the other member states that they didn't recognize Kosovo yet?
I think the reasons of the 5 non-recognized within the EU differ from country to country, and so they have. But everybody, also the 22 recognizers, expect progress in the rule of law in Kosovo, and in particular in the field of corruption. And I think while in the fighting organized crime is to a large extent an issue of police, prosecution and courts, this is there. Corruption, that is of course also an issue of police, anti-corruption agency, etc. But it is also to a large extent an issue of prevention. And I've been just this morning dealing with that. We strongly recommend to the Kosovo government to concentrate on that. For instance, legislation on procurement. The progress report criticizes that there are so many more than 100 different places where procurement is done. Albania has been successful in fighting corruption in this area by introducing electronic procurement and centralized procurement. So there are models for a way forward. There is also the issue of staffing in the public service. All these are areas where more can be done, new things can be done, where Kosovo can learn from its neighbors, including Albania. And I've been recently in Tirana, and there is a big willingness to support Kosovo on these on its projects like e-procurement, like centralized procurement, and exchange experiences and help to avoid that the wheel is reinvented here while it was already invented in Tirana.
But do you think that the Kosovo government is capable of continuing on its own when EULEX mandate will be finished in fighting corruption, in making a better procurement system, and etc.?
Well, this, as I said at the start of our discussion, the mandate, we hope that we can find an agreement with the Kosovo government on a new mandate for a new mission. At the same time, there are also other instruments of the European Union to help countries here in Europe to develop, to fight corruption, to fight organized crimes, etc. That includes projects, EPA projects, but that also includes a very intensive political dialogue in which these issues can be raised. We have the structured rule of law dialogue, which will meet next time in January. We have the negotiations on the visa liberalization roadmap, on which we are, of course, supporting Kosovo, that Kosovo can meet the conditions of this roadmap. And I think where we play quite an important role in many fields, but where Kosovo has to do a lot to get forward. And then finally, the next step on your road toward the European Union is the completion of the agreement on stabilization and association, which also requires a lot of progress in not only in these but also in this field of fighting organized crime and corruption.
Yeah, we need probably bigger support as the liberalization of visas are concerned, because we are the only state in Europe that needs visa to travel anywhere. So we would appreciate bigger help from all member states to help Kosovo on its path to at least get free travel.
Yeah, this is why I think that it is the support the EU is providing to Kosovo with its mission is in the interest of Kosovo, and that we are helping you to move forward on these matters with all the experience from the member countries which is assembled in this mission.
I would like to get back also again to the investigation. There are a lot of rumors of these last days because of the cases that are already in the court about ex-KLA commanders. Yesterday it was in the report that EULEX is investigating one high ex-officials of KLA. What is concretely, do we know any details about who is next to be investigated and for what reasons, or these are only confidential maybe?
I cannot comment on ongoing investigations. I mean, this would be a bit amateurish from my side if I would do that. We concentrate on areas where we feel that it is that we can be successful. As I mentioned earlier, there were many war crimes cases where you have only one page. And to find after 15 years still evidence, witnesses, is incredibly difficult. In other cases, it was possible. Witnesses contacted us, were ready to do their statements. And then you have a chance to bring a case to court. Then the prosecutors has leads and can continue and search for other witnesses, etc. And that way achieve something, bring his case to court, and then finally get a verdict, acquittal or guilty.
But what do you think is Kosovo's bigger problem, corruption or organized crime?
I don't think that you can really say one problem is bigger or not. Of course, corruption is haunting you with this very bad place in Transparency International's list. Only Albania is lower in the Western Balkans on a worse place. So this is very visible. And when I see polls and what people consider as relevant, as where they want to see action from us, where they want to see action from the government, this is fighting corruption. This is something where people are suffering from. Second point, there's often a very strong link between corruption and organized crime. Often it is corruption which enables organized crime to finance its activity, to start financing its activities. And third aspect, organized crime, is that what is affecting the EU member states. So this is, therefore, we have a very keen interest in prosecuting organized crime cases, as the drugs which go through Kosovo, they are sold to our children, some of them. And so we have a very, very strong interest in finding the perpetrators.
Are you making maybe any pressure towards Kosovo's prosecution to be more effective towards fighting corruption? And do you have any, any cooperation with Kosovo's agency against corruption?
Yes, we have. In the field of fighting corruption, we are concentrating on a political dialogue. For instance, as I mentioned, procurement law legislation, on e-procurement, electronic procurement, on centralized procurement, and then our experts are involved in very technical and detailed discussions on how the cooperation between the anti-corruption agency and the prosecution can be improved, how the cooperation between the police and the prosecution can be improved. These are, I think we are providing there a lot of input, and I hope that this will bring results. This is one of the issues on which I have encouraged my colleagues here when I came here to concentrate more, and I hope that over the time this will bring results.
I have taken some statistics in your website that currently EULEX has 2,250 staff members. Do you think that this is enough to spread and to overcome all these bad and good situations that we have in Kosovo?
Yeah, this is a theoretical staffing level. This is what the number of staff we may employ. We are we have the actual staffing level is a bit less. We are working here inside the Kosovo legal system. And the Kosovo legal system gives a key role to prosecutors. So this number of less than 30 prosecutors that we have here, they are at they are the core of the business, to put it that way. They are guiding the police. They are then presenting their cases to the judges, and that is an area in which we have to. I would like to see to continue a strong staffing. In other fields, we will also in the future certainly need less staff. As I mentioned, we are now filling up with the help of recruiting these former parallel policemen. We help filling up the ranks of Kosovo police in the north. That would mean that then less of our policemen will be needed one day, and we will. In some areas, we have been very successful. When you look at, you mentioned Transparency International, for instance. We have been. There is, of course, this negative picture by this very low ranking of Kosovo in the Transparency International Corruption Index.
Although it was only perception, because
perception,
the inputs are usually taken by.
Let me finish. But when you look then into the details in the corruption barometer, your police has a very good reputation. It is one of the best. It is the best. It has the best reputation in the whole region. Also perception, but usually Transparency knows very well how to get these perceptions, and they are compiling a lot of information, so that is quite reliable. And I think the good perception concerning Kosovo police, this is not only our success. This is first of all the success of Kosovo police. This is the success of many others who have contributing to building up Kosovo police. But also the last years we have invested there a lot of efforts, and we have since year and a half we have changed our strategy. away from this kind of supervisory role or this role of a mission doing the job for Kosovo. We went more into a partnership relationship. We are doing already more than half of the police investigations together with Kosovo police investigators. We do wherever possible mixed. We work. Our prosecutors work together with Kosovo prosecutors, and I think, and in the courts, we usually have mixed benches. That means international judges and Kosovo judges in cases where ULEX is involved. And this is something which is where we try to hand over more and more responsibility to Kosovo judges, that there are 2 Kosovo judges and 1 international judge, that there is the reporting judge is from Kosovo, etc. So this is for us also the way to even more transfer our knowledge, not only through the training programs we do, through that what we call monitoring, mentoring, and advising, but also through this kind of peer-to-peer work of prosecutors, police, judges in the executive function that we have.
Now we are approaching year 2014. What do you see as the biggest challenges for this year for Kosovo and especially for your mission?
Well, Kosovo has an enormous lot of challenges which goes far beyond the area of rule of law. In the field of rule of law, there's a criminal system review is ongoing. The results have then to be implemented, so there's a long list, and we are more than willing to help, and that's why we are here. The visa liberalization, further progress on meeting the conditions is, I think, something which is very close to the heart of the people, and where they expect their government to advance quickly. And for the mission, it is helping as best as we can, helping to find a good solution between the member states and Kosovo and Pristina on the future of mission support for Kosovo, and of course our continuous support for the implementations of the many agreements which have been reached between Belgrade and Pristina, where we will continue to do our best to get them implemented.
What will be your message for the upcoming year for our...
Well, this is not... we are here a technical mission and not a political mission, so I cannot give you any political message. First of all, I would like to wish all people who are seeing this on TV all the best for the coming for the coming holidays. To the Christians, Merry Christmas, and to everybody a Happy New Year. And on the political side, we are here. We are still here. We continue, and we are available to support Kosovo. This is the aim of this mission.
Thank you very much for your time.
It is my pleasure. Thank you.